دموعي سبيل مريح تنهد يا صاحي كي تستريح.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Zoya and Mirajwala, and this is Malaikah Refresh on behalf of Malaikah For Women.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Urooj Zakaria, and I currently run Malaikah For Women, and today we're going to be talking about hijab and the struggles with it in this society and generation. So Zoya recently became hijabi, and I'm just going to ask, how has it been for you? Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks. I think the environment I'm in has made it definitely a lot easier. Growing up in a Muslim household 100% has made it easy. Going to a school where there's so many hijabis and so many Muslim people has made it so easy, because I went to a high school where there wasn't a lot of Muslim people. So I feel like going from there to a college with so many Muslims and so many hijabis is definitely a good experience on me, a good influence, and it's a good experience for me as well.
So was it different, like the transition from like going to a high school with no Muslims at all and then UH where you're surrounded by Muslims?
I think it definitely was very different, because when you're in an environment with not many Muslims around you, I was the only Muslim Pakistani girl in my grade in high school. So I felt very alone, and I felt like I had to fit in with them kind of and not really show my like Muslim, like
your Muslim side.
Yeah, my Muslim side. So I feel like going to UH has kind of, it's more the opposite, where it's like, before it was like, it felt in some way embarrassing to show my Islam, and now it's embarrassing to not.
Yeah.
So I feel like that.
Do you think your faith like fluctuated a lot because of that reason? Like in high school, like where do you think you were at with your faith?
I definitely think it changed me completely. Being in an environment where I was different to a environment where I was different in the complete opposite way, where I wasn't as close to my religion as I should have been. And I feel like the people around me influenced me in a great way, especially you being hijabi. You influenced me, you inspired me. And hearing you talk about it and how similar we were in just being girls, going to college and being normal and just like having struggles with our faith and stuff like that, I think it definitely helped me. And like people around me praying namaz, praying, doing all that, it inspired me to do that as well.
I'm glad. Well, I mean, it definitely isn't easy putting it on or making the decision to even like put it on. Like, what was your thought process through it all?
I think for me, I feel like it wasn't a long, drawn out, like super thought process. I mean, it definitely was, but in the same time, it wasn't. It was kind of a thought I had in my head, like, I want to be better. I want to do this. I need a push. I need something that will not necessarily force me, but that will push me. Like, putting on a hijab kind of exemplifies Islam. When you walk in somewhere, everyone knows you're Muslim.
Yeah, you're representing Islam.
Yeah, you're representing Islam. So I feel like that definitely pushed me towards that. Like that definitely pushed me towards wearing a hijab, and the like wearing it. Yeah,
it makes you feel like you have to do better, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's people watching you, have eyes on you. You put it on, everybody's judging you. And I think it was the same for me. Like I put the hijab on back in 2021, and I was not like nowhere close to like, you know, being where I am right now with my faith. But I think for me it was like, if I wear the hijab, I'm going to do better, and I'm going to be forced to do better, right? And I think the common misconception right now about hijab is that if you wear it, you are a perfect Muslim, you follow all the Sharia laws, you pray 5 times a day, your iman is at a different level than a girl that's not wearing a hijab. And I think that's completely wrong. I think like my faith like could be fluctuating a lot more than a girl that doesn't wear the hijab, you know? So I think it's really important to recognize that if you put on the hijab, that does not mean you're anywhere close to being perfect. I don't think anybody is perfect, right? Like we're all learning, we're all gaining knowledge about about our religion and Islam. And I think it's just like you take it one day at a time, right? That's what I told you when you asked me, like, you know, hey, like, how did you put it on? I told you one day at a time, you know, like baby steps. And when I first put it on, I actually didn't tell anybody. Like for the first month, it was Ramadan. I was just wearing a hijab to the masjid. There was COVID, and nobody knew. So like I I just put it on, and like I didn't tell anybody until a month after, because I was so scared that like, what if I take it off?
Yeah.
And at the time, like I didn't know any hijabis. Like it was like everybody was like still in high school, you know, like going through the phase. We weren't close to our deen, and I think it was just like, for me, I was just like, you know what, this is my first step. Like people usually like get better at their faith and then put it on, but for me it was like, no, I'm gonna put it on and then like slowly build it up.
That's definitely how I felt too. Like I felt like putting it on will help me be closer, because at the end of the day, when someone looks at you and you're doing something wrong with a hijab on, it's embarrassing in a way, and you're giving not only yourself a bad look, you're exemplifying Islam. So you're giving Islam a bad look in general, right? Like that definitely is like a push to be better. If I'm wearing it, I have to. It's not just about me anymore. I'm representing a lot of people. Our whole religion, basically.
And I think like also like when you first put it on, like there's a lot of judgment about how you wear it or how you put it on, like how you're dressing, if your hair is showing, if your hair isn't showing, if your neck is covered and it isn't covered. And I think like honestly, like a lot of people will agree and a lot of people will disagree, but I think it's a process, you know, like you take it one day at a time, you wear it like at the best way that you can, you know, like it's all a journey. We're all on different journeys, and I think everybody's spiritual level is different than like where you're at, right? Like one of my friends that recently put on the hijab, she covers everything. Like she feels like strong enough to like cover her full hair, her full neck, you know, like, but I'm not there yet. Even though I've been hijabi for a couple of years now, I think I'm still working on it, you know. Like I think everybody's just at different phases, and I think the judgment comes very quickly when you put on the hijab and you don't wear it right. Or if you're still doing like some things that like people think like, oh, you know, a hijabi shouldn't be doing. Like I think it's just like we're all at different stages. We all have our faults. We all sin. And I think the judgment is just like
I think definitely once you put on a hijab, it gives people more room to judge you. And it honestly, to me, I just became hijabi. It's been like maybe 2 weeks for me, and I feel like I've already started feeling it. Like if I was doing something before I put on a hijab, people were not saying anything, but now that I do anything now, they will say something.
And also I think when I first put on the hijab, I was just so scared of people being like, you know what, you are in no room to represent Islam because of the person you wear, right? And I think that's completely wrong, because like if I'm here trying to better myself, if I'm here pushing myself to do better, I think I am doing a lot more than you are sitting there talking about me or the person that I was with before I put it on. And I think like once you put it on, a lot more people are given room to talk about your past sins or your past mistakes. And I think that's completely wrong. I think like putting on the hijab is like a new fresh start, right? You are beginning a new stage of your life, and I think from here onwards, like, you are trying to do better, right? And I think like people that are judging us or like judging people who become hijabi but have had like rough past, I think that just like discourages a lot more people that are thinking about the hijab, right?
It's a journey for everybody, and I feel like it has to be respected in everyone's journey. Like just because you were something before does not mean you can't be better now, right? And it's like just because I was doing something wrong before does not mean that I feel like when I put on a hijab, it was a shock, especially to a lot of my friends, because I just wasn't a person that they were expecting that out of. Like I was not, and I think I was scared of that shock factor. I think I was scared that like, okay, if these people are so shocked, like what if they don't, what if they don't
believe that you're doing it for the right reasons.
And what if I get excluded from different things now because they don't want me there because they think that I've become all like I'm gonna judge them for anything that they're doing. And I'm not saying I'm going to judge anyone for whatever they're doing. I believe everybody is on their own journey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was my actual like same thing, right? Like none of my friends were hijabi, so I was like, I'm gonna be the only hijabi. I'm gonna feel left out, and like people are gonna think that like my friends are gonna feel like they can't open up to me, or they can't be close with me anymore because of like if I would judge them for what they're doing. But like that is not true at all. You know, my friends are on their own journey, and I think like everybody now, like especially my friends, like I think most of them are hijabi now, alhamdulillah, and like it's just a journey, you know. Like you Zoya, I'm pretty sure like you putting on the hijab is like inspiring your friends to like question you about it, ask you questions, and see like where you're at, like and why you decided to put it on,
especially
right? And it motivates them, like, you know, if you are able to put it on, inshallah they can too.
I feel like that shock factor can lead to inspiration in a way. And like, okay, if someone like her can do it, like, you know, like I can too.
Yeah.
And that was another big thing for me wanting to do it, because it's like, I feel like everyone knew who I was. Everyone knew what I was doing. I'm a very social media, very public person. I would post everything I did, post absolutely everything. And then majority of my posts just disappearing, and I'm dropping hijab posts. Like people, like it doesn't make sense to people. And I feel like that could inspire others in a way too. So.
And guys, Zoya was like very bold with her hijab. She just showed up to school one day and was just like, yeah, well, today's the day I become a hijabi. And I think that's very commendable that you were able to do that, because when I put it on, it was COVID and nobody knew, right? And the funny thing is that I posted a picture of me in a hijab on Eid. Nobody said anything to me. Nothing. Nobody even realized that I put it on. And like, everybody just ignored it. Like, I just wasn't told anything by anyone. Like my friends didn't know. Like, nobody said anything. They just acted like I was already a hijabi. So, but like for Zoya to come to school with a hijab on, I think that was amazing.
I think it was definitely
you just
like
full send it. You were like,
I definitely did. Like my close friends I spoke to before, and I was like, hey, listen, like I want to start in Ramadan. Like this is like a thing I've been thinking about. Like I want to do it, but it was a couple weeks before Ramadan, and I just woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it today.
No, it was the Vela package that you got.
I got the hijabs in the mail, and I was just like, okay, these are cute. I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm so glad you felt like you could wear it and come to school. And you know, alhamdulillah, we go to a school where majority of the Muslim girls are hijabi, so it's not hard to be hijabi at UH.
Yeah, no, it's
alhamdulillah,
not.
But I'm glad you were able to do it.
I feel like UH was never my worry. I feel like going to UH made it easy in a way. Like it definitely, it was such a welcoming environment with it, but I feel like at the same time, I went to UH and everyone there knew who I was. Yeah. And I feel like the walking into school that first day was definitely like, okay, I don't really want to see people right now. Like, I just want to see my friends, and I just want to, I want to hide.
Yeah, baby steps.
Yeah, because it's scary. That first day is very scary. And it's like walking into that and people being like that reaction, like, my sister told me, when I told my sister, she was like, you should film everyone's reactions and post a TikTok video. But I could not do that. Like, I was so nervous every single time I would meet someone for the first time wearing it that I was like freaking out. That there was no way I was sitting there recording any reactions. I was in stress mode. But I feel like with every person who I got that reaction, everyone was just so happy and so welcoming, which I'm very lucky for, because there's people who don't get that reaction. There's people who struggle with it. But I feel like with that, it definitely made things a lot easier.
Yeah, I'm glad. I mean, I told you this, like, you were worried about people like sort of giving you a negative reaction, and I told you, like, you know what, if they're giving you a negative reaction, it's bad on them, not on you, you know? But I'm glad you had like a good support system, and I'm glad like you felt comfortable wearing it to school and just showing up and just deciding, like, you know what, today's the day I'm gonna be hijabi. Yeah. That's amazing. But also, I wanted to ask, like, you said you grew up in a Muslim household. Like, how was it telling your parents, like, hey, like, I'm putting it on?
I feel like telling my parents, I made a bigger deal out of it than they did. I called my mom into my room. I was like, I have something to talk to you about. Like, it's super serious, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, what's going on? Like, she's freaking out. She thinks something, like, bad happened. And I was like, what I said was, I'm telling you this, I'm not asking you, but you're my mom, so I'm still asking you. Yeah. And I was like, I want to put on a hijab, and my mom herself is hijabi, but my mom did not start wearing a hijab until after my little brother was born. Mm-hmm. So obviously, like, she was older than I was. She had kids.
Later in life.
A lot later in life. So I feel like for me, it was early, and especially in her eyes. Like, she wasn't expecting it to be this early for me. Yeah. But she was really happy, and it was good. Yeah.
I'm glad. No, for me, my little sister became hijabi before I did, which was kind of like a push for me. She was 10 at the time, I believe. She was in 5th grade. She just decided to put it on, and then my mom was also hijabi, so it made it a lot easier for me and my family. Like, it wasn't a shock when I told my parents, like, hey, like, I want to put it on. My mom was like, finally. After everything, she's like, you know what, it's time for you to wear it. And she was like really happy for me. So it was good. It was a good support system, Yeah. My little sister wearing it kind of just like made it a lot easier for me to put it on.
I feel like my mom wearing it is definitely like it made it 10 times easier.
Yeah.
If my mom wasn't hijabi, I feel like, I don't know if it ever would have came across my head to do it, especially at this point in my life. Because I feel like my mom wearing it made it easier. Like, I'm just like my mom, like, it's okay, But if I didn't have that, I feel like it definitely would have been harder for me, because when you see others wearing it, I feel like hijab nowadays is seen as not something you're obligated to do.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a choice. But in Islam, I feel like I learned that it
very much is
an obligatory thing to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like my mom wearing it definitely made that not feel as optional, like it's a thing you have to do in Islam. And I've read Quran ayats about it after that, and like understood that it is like, it's not an option.
It's not an option. And I'm glad you were able to do your research, because there's a lot of people that will sit there and argue with you, telling you that it is not. There's so many guys that will make their wives take it off because they don't want their wives to be wearing a hijab, right? Like I think a lot of people forget that, like, there's a difference between culture and religion, right? And there's a lot of desi culture, like also like about the hijab, right? Like people in Pakistan or in India, they will wear it outside, but not wear it like around non-mahram, right?
Yeah.
Because it's cultural. So
exactly.
Like, I think it's really important to understand the history and the significance of hijab, right? Before, even after wearing it or before wearing it, it's good to do your own research, and I'm glad you were able to do it, because there's a lot of people that will tell you, like, it's not fair to wear a hijab, but
it is.
But it is, yeah.
And I feel like that culture of like, I feel like a lot of girls think about it as like, once I get married, I'll wear it. And I don't see it like that. Like,
or once I'm perfect with my iman, I'll wear it.
And once I'm perfect, I'll wear it. But I feel like it's a step to being perfect in a way.
I mean, there's no way
perfect in quotation marks. Like, there's no perfect. It's a step to being better. It's a step to fulfilling your iman. Stuff like, that's what I
agree with you. And I think, like, once you put it on, I feel like you kind of like are like, okay, I'm wearing the hijab, I'm representing Islam, like, I have to start feeling like I'm representing it too, right? Not just wearing it, like, praying 5 times a day, and like, doing, like, reading Quran, doing all these things that are like, part of our religion. So like, where are you with that? Like, do you feel like it has gotten easier for you?
I think it's gotten easier for sure. To be honest, I wasn't praying enough, and I feel like now that I've put on hijab, I've definitely started trying more. I've started making my prayers. I've started watching more videos. I want to read the Quran. I want to understand what it's saying, because I mean, I've read the Quran in Arabic, but I don't understand Arabic. I want to read it and understand it. I want to know everything, in a way. I mean, there's so much that it's hard to know everything.
Right.
But I want to read it. I want to understand what my religion really is. I want to know all the little things. Like, the way I didn't realize that hijab is like, mandatory. Hijab is mandatory. I didn't realize that. I feel like those little things that we don't even know they're mandatory, because we don't look into it, and our culture doesn't, like, the world doesn't talk about every little thing enough. I feel like that's something I want to educate myself more about.
I feel like we're trying to, like, I don't know, like, how to say this, but like, westernizing our religion, right? A lot of things are overlooked. Like a lot of things that we do now, like as people, as a society, I feel like they don't align with our religion. And I think it's because of like the society and like how people are viewing our religion. And I think it's really important to go back and, like, our religion has not changed. Since everything was revealed, it has not changed. So I think it's important as Muslims to go back and, like, look at the history, learn about it, teach yourself, like, gain knowledge, right?
And it's like the thing where times have changed, like, you can't. Times may have changed, but Islam never changes.
Right,
so that's why, that's what Islam is. It's the one book that never changed, right? That's why we believe it's the truest book. So,
I mean, with Ramadan coming up, do you have any specific Ramadan goals that you want to implement this Ramadan?
I want to try and read the Quran.
Inshallah.
I want to try and read the whole Quran in maybe in both, but I definitely want to read the translation of it for sure. I want to understand as much as I can, take notes, write down the important things, understand everything to the best of my abilities, make my namazes, make Tarawih, like,
Inshallah, yeah. No, it's hard to balance Ramadan as a full-time student, and we're also doing Malaikah for Women. And, you know, how do you plan on balancing, like, both of those things?
I feel like it's definitely a struggle. It's hard. Last Ramadan, I became nocturnal completely.
Yeah.
I was full on, like, asleep all day, awake all night, studying, like, everything. I feel like this time it's a little different because I have a job now and I have to go to work. So it's definitely difficult, but I feel like you kind of just have to understand, like, you got to do what you got to do. Like,
so last Ramadan, I kept, like, really high goals for myself, but I realized, like, that wasn't very realistic. So this year, I kind of got more specific, you know, like, trying to read the Quran, but, like, not holding myself accountable to finish the whole thing, right? You know, because as full-time students, as, like, studying for the LSATs and, like, managing so many different things, it's hard to. But I think it's really important if you plan on reading the Quran to just, like, understand what you're reading, right? More than just, like, you reading it and, like, it just, like, going over your head. So I think, like, just, like, reading even, like, as much as I can, but also understanding, like, what I'm reading is really important. And I think this Ramadan, like, I really want to implement that. And then, like, also, like, you know, praying my sunnah prayers, which, you know, it's harder to do with, like, you know, school. And, like, when you're praying at school, you just pray your fard and you leave. But, like, I think this Ramadan, I want to sort of, like, start praying my sunnahs and, you know, donating money, sadaqah, and all of that. And with everything going on in Gaza right now, and I think it's really important that, like, we know we're taking money out, we're donating, we're making dua for them. And, like, you know, just understanding, like, everything that's happening around us. Like, you know, the world does not revolve around us. There's so much more going on, and I think it's so important to look beyond yourself, right? And this Ramadan, I think it's, like, just looking outside of the little bubble that we're living in, you know, with everything going on in the world.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Yeah. Okay. So do you think that working for Malaikah for Women has increased your faith in any way?
Well, I think first we should talk about what Malaikah for Women is, right? It's sort of a... we work with Malaikah Foundation, right? But we created Malaikah for Women to build a sisterhood within the Houston society that we live in, right? It's hard to find a good group of people or a good group of sisters that are, like, you know, struggling with their faith. Like, you know, the main goal of Malaikah for Women is to not be like, you know, we are the strongest girls with the strongest faith. No, the thing is the point of Malaikah for Women is to build your faith with each other, right? To grow together. And I think we've been doing a lot of events, like every month, like we host social events, and it's been good. You know, I've met so many new people, and so many girls have told me that, you know, they've met people through Malaikah for Women events, and I think that was, like, sort of the main goal. And with my faith, I think working for Malaikah for Women has definitely helped me a lot because, you know, I'm representing a foundation or an organization, and so, you know, I feel like I have the responsibility to act a certain way or to be better, right? Because I'm representing so many people behind me, right? Like a whole team of people and a whole organization, and I think that sort of, like, made me want to do better and be better. And, like, you know, I understand that there's a lot of people looking at me because of this organization, and that's what, you know, helped me.
I feel like definitely the same. Being in a community, like Malaikah for Women definitely helped me create a community, meeting you especially, like meeting girls that are all hijabi, like not all of them, but a lot of them are. You know, I feel like that definitely, like, makes it feel
like you're welcome.
Yeah, welcomed. And it makes it feel more, like, okay. Like, you know, I feel like going to high school in, like, a way that not even going to high school, being around other Muslims who just weren't as close to their religion or anything like that, or even if they were, it felt embarrassing in a way for me to be away and then for them to be away, because we're all Muslims, right? So it's like, it's confusing when you're sitting in a group of Muslims and
they're not as close to their religion.
And it's like, what if I want to be, you know?
Then you feel like you're being judged.
You feel different again. And it's like I went from a high school full of, I didn't have that many Muslim friends. And even if I did, they didn't live around me, you know? Like, I was very alone in that school. And I feel like after making Muslim friends, I still not even felt alone in a way, but I just felt like once I decided I wanted to start becoming closer to my religion, I didn't want to feel alone again, if that makes sense.
And I'm glad Malaikah For Women helped you not feel alone, because I feel like also when you are surrounded by those type of people, you can't be on a journey of religion, right? You're gonna feel judged. But then when you are around people that do have strong imans and like their faith is a lot like higher than yours, then you feel like you are being judged because of like who you were before.
Yeah.
So I feel like Malaikah For Women has that balance. You know, there are people that are struggling with their faith, then there are people that are good with their faith. So I think it's good to like have a balance of both.
Yeah, and it's like a push in both directions.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It works out that way. It evens you out in a way. So
yeah, no, I'm glad you feel that way, and I think that was the main goal of Malaikah For Women. And I love working and I love doing these. I love hosting these events and like working with Malaikah Foundation that helps children with disabilities. So it's great.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure when you put it on, a lot of people were like, what made you put it on? Why are you wearing it? And like, you know, how did you get to where you are right now from like being a completely different person?
And I feel like those are like in the beginning, at least. I mean, it's still the beginning for me. It hasn't even been a month. But I feel like right when I started, those questions were stressing me out a little bit.
But it helped you like learn more about why you're wearing it, right?
Like
you kind of had to deep dive.
Having to answer those questions helps me understand more why I'm doing this. And I feel like more at peace when you're with religion. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a reason I'm understanding why our religion tells us to do these things. And I feel like before I didn't. And like doing those things, doing what our religion tells us to do, makes me understand it more and makes me love it more because it's right.
I think like when you start implementing these things, you understand why we're told to do these things, right?
Exactly.
So just praying, wearing the hijab, and like making dua, and like so many other things, being nice to people. I think like once you start actually doing these things and doing it with the right intention of for Allah, then you realize like, you know what, why I was told to do these things.
And another thing is working with Malaikah Foundation, being with children with disabilities, working with them. I've worked with other organizations before I worked with Malaikah that
help with children.
Yeah, help with children with disabilities. And I feel like Malaikah meaning angel is definitely like it makes so much sense because working with those kids, they are genuinely angels. Like they are so pure and so just happy with life. And I feel like they have a level of happiness we're never going to be able to reach.
Achieve. Yeah. No, I think the same. I think like working with children with disabilities, I think that's sort of given a purpose for the organization, right? We feel like we have a purpose and we are trying to accomplish it. And I think it's like a great feeling, you know, like we're doing the other part of our religion, which is like, you know, helping people in need, helping children in need. And like, I think it's great.
Yeah. And helping people is one of the number one things in our religion. Like we are supposed to just be kind and help others. And I feel like Malaikah definitely helps me do that. And doing that grows my religion, right? Like doing good for the world. Do
you think your faith has changed ever since you joined Malaikah Foundation?
I think definitely, yes. Because I feel like being around that environment, being around people who were pushing me to be better in a way, you know, I was the bad one in a group of good people, that, if that makes sense. You know, I wasn't there yet. And I feel like being around that made me want to be better.
Yeah, I'm glad you're on your journey. And I think everybody's on their journey, but I'm glad that you were able to pull yourself out and like be on this journey, right? And I think you're doing great.
I think you especially in Malaikah, you were a big influence on me, a big inspiration. Fun fact, we didn't even like each other at a point. We hated each other.
For years, actually.
For years. But after talking to you and understanding your journey through it and how you told me you just woke up one day and put it on, I feel like
genuinely what happened. Like, I don't even know. Like, I woke up and I was like, you know what? Today's the day. Like, just the same way you. Like, I didn't even think about it. I was like, you know what? It's just time, you know, I just feel like I need it.
I feel like I was kind of telling people like, oh, like I feel like I had to sit there and say I've been thinking about it just so people wouldn't think that this is some like
a phase.
I didn't want it to feel like I didn't want it to be seen as a phase because I don't want it to be a phase. That's not what I want out of it. And I feel like you telling me that you just woke up one day and put it on, that was something for me because I always felt that like when you put on a hijab, you have to be at a point.
Yeah,
you
and
have to be
I
ready
helped
for
you
that.
understand that. Like, no, that's
Yeah,
not the case
that's
at
not
all.
at
You know,
all.
like I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, with a lot of people that I know that have put on the hijab after they felt like they were ready, right? But for me, I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna YOLO it, like, just wear it, you know, like, and then like try to better myself. And alhamdulillah, that's the journey that I've been on, you know.
And I feel like that's the same for me. Like I've ever since I put it on, I've been trying to be better, even though it has not been long for me, but I feel like it doesn't take long to get there. It's just like a click in your head almost, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like I want to do this. Like,
you know the hadith that says, like, if you take one step towards Allah, he takes like 1,000 steps towards you. And I think that's sort of like what happened, you know, we took one step and like, you know, alhamdulillah, where we're at, like right now where we're at, like I think that you just have to take that one step, right?
That thought process in my head wasn't there before I put on that hijab, on a hijab. Like, it wasn't there that like, okay, I need to pray namaz now. I need to make it home in time right now so that I can pray namaz. That was never a thought process to me. It was never like, okay, like I want to try and read the Quran this Ramadan. I just didn't think like that. In my head, Ramadan was like, okay, I need to fast. I need to get through the day. I need to do my homework somehow. I need to go to work. It was never a like, okay, time to like really like
lock it in.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad. I mean, this is your first Ramadan as a hijabi, and I think like you'll be fine, inshallah. You know, just focus on your Ramadan goals, and like I think like don't be too harsh on yourself or don't set like super high expectations. I think just like be realistic and be specific with your goals, right? Like, you know, whatever you're trying to accomplish this Ramadan, inshallah, you'll be able to.
I feel like with Malaikah, with Omar, who's the president, he started Malaikah. When he started his journey to becoming better, I feel like the way I saw it happen to him and the way people started talking about him and treating him, I kind of didn't want that to happen to me. Like, people were saying he Malaikah Foundationed himself. Yeah. And he just, that.
You didn't want to be labeled as a person that just joined Malaikah and then like instantly just completely changed to a different person.
Yeah, and not even that. I feel like that, and also like becoming like lame in a way, you know, like and I feel like it was just like a he's just not the you just don't like you lose. I feel like losing an invite to a party because people don't want you there because they don't think that you're the type of person who wants to be there. I don't want to lose an invite to a party. I'm that person that I like going everywhere, and I have FOMO, and I didn't want that. Yeah. But I feel like I understand now that like that's the environment that you are in changes you as a person.
Yeah,
you know,
the same way that you joined the Malaikah environment, I think that also like changed you in a better way, right? Yeah. You kind of understand where Amar was at like 3 years ago when he started the organization and how he felt and like where he was at with his journey. So like I feel like you started your own journey after like, you know, being around Malaikah Foundation and the people, and like, you know, I think it's good you understand it better now, you know, that it's not lame.
Yeah. And
so like how do you think like, you know, you joining Malaikah Foundation, like it's helped you as a person, but how do you plan on helping other people or helping children with disabilities? Like what are your goals with Malaikah Foundation?
I feel like my role right now at Malaikah is I kind of deal with the volunteer coordination. First of all, I communicate with pretty much all of our volunteers for our respite care stuff. We're all meeting with organizations that already are working with respite care with children with disabilities, and I feel like that talking to other organizations, speaking to other organizations, even working with the volunteers, speaking to them, seeing how other people are so driven to help this cause, it gives me some sort of hope for the world, you know? It sees that people are helping, people are trying, and it's not just us, you know? And that definitely helps me with Malaikah. Like it
drives you, you know? You kind of like found your purpose, and like I feel like
exactly. And I feel like even with Malaikah For Women, like building a community, having events for girls, like people wanting to join. We have a base of like 100 people in Malaikah For Women, and it's like over 100, and I feel like that is so like inspirational. Like there's so many of us that want to do better, that want to be in a community, and that really shows me what Malaikah is. Like it's not, I feel like when Malaikah was started, we were all kind of like, okay, like this is just like
it's just whatever.
It's just whatever.
But no, we've built something here, you know,
it's
like
built
people
up.
are recognizing our foundation and our purpose and like what we are working for and what we're working towards. Like, congratulations to you. You got 90 volunteers for respite care services, which is amazing. There's 90 people that want to help children with disabilities, 90 people that like see Amar's vision and are here for it, you know, are supporting him and like want to do better and want to serve these children. And I think it's really commendable that you are working for that and you're doing all these amazing things.
Thanks.
Like, and, you know, what we do kind of goes hand in hand, you know. You working with respite care services, me doing Malaikah For Women, like we all have the same goal, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're doing amazing.
Yeah. We had our certification event for our volunteers with Family to Family Network, Ms. Judy. She came and she spoke to our volunteers and gave them a little bit of a rundown about children with disabilities, a short session about it. And I feel like people like her. And then after that certification, she connected us with so many organizations to help grow to help grow us, grow Malaikah. And I feel like she saw our vision with just meeting us one time. And I think that that's just, even with the other meetings we've been having, the people we've been meeting, just one meeting and they're like, this is amazing. And they want to help. They want to do what they can to help us grow, because I feel like people are starting to see our vision. We've built that platform, especially with the Malaikah Refresh episodes that they did before, with ICNA, with everything like that. Their platform has been grown. And I think that with that platform, people are finally seeing our vision with it. People are finally seeing that this is not just some college kids doing it for a resume boost, you know? It's genuinely us trying to help. And I feel like that is finally being recognized in the world.
Yeah, so I'm so glad, you know, alhamdulillah, people are finally seeing, like, you know, we aren't just like playing around, or we aren't just like, no, messing. This is the real deal, and we're working towards our goals, Amar's vision. Like, you know, we are like, you know, like we're working towards it, and I think like that's all we can do right now. And I'm really glad that you feel that you are doing something that you feel like hijab has changed you as a person in a good way. And I'm glad that, you know, you recognized the difference between, you know, wearing a hijab and like feeling the judgment of wearing a hijab. And I think that's amazing.
So yeah, before we conclude, I just want to say thank you for inspiring me to be better and to wear a hijab and to be, you've just been an inspiration. All of Malaikah has just helped me in amazing ways, and I feel like it has made me so much just better and closer to my faith and everything like that. And I feel like talking about wearing a hijab, coming from someone like me, coming from someone like you, who are we're very similar people, but we're on our own journeys. You put on a hijab like 3 years before me, right? And I feel like we are all working in our own ways. And I feel like if anyone hearing this, anyone who listens to our stories, I want them to understand that I want them to understand that everyone's on their own journey, and it's a path for everybody. And
everybody's on their own journey, and I think whoever wants to put on the hijab, it's just one day at a time. You know, I think it's easier to put it on than like the thought process of wanting to put it on, right? Like it's like everybody's on their own journey, and like, you know, your environment kind of like helps you a lot.
Don't think too hard about it. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Well, thank you for listening in. I had so much fun talking to you, Zoya.
Me too. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. And thanks for listening.
First, what are you talking about?
It was so good. Okay.